So here we are on today's big Nintendo announcement that everyone was pretty excited for. We've been talking about these leakers and these people who do the rumors, and they have the inside knowledge. It's their specialty to know what is happening behind the scenes, and that today was going to be the day that the Nintendo Switch 2 was announced. Well, there was a big announcement, not the Switch 2, and honestly, I don't know when that's going to happen. Although I do think it is going to happen at some point soon. What we did get, though, was a couple games that come to Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, the Mature app, and of course the big announcement, and that being Xenoblade Chronicles X. The definitive edition will actually be remastered, retooled, however you want to say it, for the Nintendo Switch, and that will drop March 25th, I believe, and a $60 game. I think it's well worth it, by the way. I've never actually played the game because I could not find Xenoblade Chronicles X, and it's one of those games that has eluded me for a while, but I do love the Xenoblade Chronicles series. I've played all of them that I can get my hands on, and every one of them I really liked. I've heard so many good things about X, but just like I said, couldn't seem to find it, not for a reasonable price anyway, and nothing that would make me go out of my way to play it because, like I said, finding it is not incredibly easy, as I don't believe the game even sold 1 million copies, but it's also relatively expensive compared to what it should be. You know, a game that doesn't sell very well for a console that was just last generation really shouldn't be that expensive or that rare, but here we are. And so it's really nice having this outlet of a port to the Nintendo Switch that is the definitive edition, and I hope that everything about it runs a lot better than what I've heard on the Wii U version, which is one of the other big reasons why I just wasn't interested in getting it for the Wii U, which we'll get into that here momentarily. First, I have to ask you guys to please hit that like and subscribe button. If you enjoy mediocre content that you don't have to pay for and kind of just keeps your mind off of horrible things that are happening, or, you know, having to work or what have you, distracts you from the horrors that are the life that we all live in, then, you know, go ahead and also hit the bell, because I make mediocre content like nobody else. And I will get back to the Xenoblade Chronicles X information and just some more thoughts on that. But I did also want to talk about the games that are coming to the NSO expansion pack. Of course, the Mature app or the Mature software. Honestly, I don't know if you have to prove you're over 18 to get it. I have no idea. But I will say every time I hear about it, I think about, like, I don't know, Showtime After Dark or something like that. That's something I shouldn't be looking into. And then when I actually play the games on there, I'm kind of let down. Because even the mature content of that time was not very mature. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really... Yeah, there's gore and all of that. And honestly, I don't hate the N64, but it wasn't very lifelike, you know? So, I don't know. The games that came out, though, I think are games that a number of people will enjoy. I am not one of those people, but you do have Turok 2, which apparently was up for, like, Game of the Year when it came out, apparently. It's weird because my experience with Turok has always been kind of like the opposite. It was almost just cringe. Now, mind you, I wasn't really there for peak Turok experience, but I have played one of the games and I didn't think it was that great. Like, I thought it was cool. It's no Dino Crisis, you know, but again, a number of people really like the game, and I think that it goes back to that, like, retro 3D FPS when they were really starting to, like, hone in on what was going to be what we have now. And if you love the FPSs from that generation or that era, all the power to you. In fact, my son, one of his most prized pieces of his collection is a sealed copy of Doom 64. Or is it Duke Nukem 64? I don't know. One of them. And he even says, like, oh no, it's not like the greatest game, but the turning point in that time frame was what was really significant. I think it's funny because my son is way too young to have thoughts like that about retro games that he wasn't even close to being alive for. But anyway, the other game is Shadow Man. Never heard of it. I know it's based off a comic book, and I know that, like, Shadow Man 2 was on the PS2, but that's really all I know about it, so it is what it is. I think it's cool. Like, we're still getting some of these games for NSO. There's been nothing major, and I don't think there will be for a while. I don't know what Nintendo's planning to do on that side of things. I'm kind of concerned about that, to be honest. Like, I'm even thinking about cutting my subscription. Put it that way. Because I'm looking and I'm, like, thinking, okay, what else could they actually drop that they can't sell? Yeah, see, most of the games that I would be interested in I know they're going to sell. So I know that they're not going to put it on this system. And pretty much everything that they have on NSO or NSO Plus, all that is games that I don't think like they could either remake because they just don't have the money or the time, more likely. You know, when you talk about like Ocarina of Time and some of those, they don't really want to go back there. You know, they can make more money in other places. Or it's just games that like didn't do that great. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm nervous about where that's all going for Nintendo's sake because I think they're going to have to catch up with PlayStation and Xbox. And we love retro games, right? That's great. Awesome. But also, it's hard to see, like, hey, I'm going to pay like 80 some bucks for my family thing of a Nintendo Switch Online Plus. I'm going to play almost as much, honestly, when you think about it, as I do for PlayStation Plus and any of that, and not get anything new. Plus, you don't have to buy access for like your family, for a bunch of different users. You can just add people to your console, but you also just get so much more stuff, you know, like Plucky Squire. You get access to a lot of stuff that I was kind of surprised by and really instantly had like this major backlog when I got back into PlayStation. So I think moving forward, Nintendo is really going to have to figure this out, especially with the Switch 2 and just trying to compete. But on that note, the Switch 2, talking about Xenoblade Chronicles X, the Definitive Edition, the port that's coming over to the Switch, a lot of those things kind of are wrapped up in me thinking that we are most likely going to get a Switch 2 announcement in the near future. I don't know when, I'm not playing that game, but I can definitely see the end of the Switch. I bring this up because I did a video recently about Switch games that we should play before the Switch is dead. And honestly, it's supposed to be a fun video. Just throw out games that people should check out while they can. And I got a little bit of pushback on this saying that, everyone's making these videos. This person argued that a console doesn't just die off, and might I introduce you to the Wii U, or even the Wii, honestly. But that's not really where I was going with it. What I mean by dying off is that you're not going to get the new games anymore. Third-party devs hate making games for the Switch. It takes a lot longer, and it's usually a lot easier to fail than it is to succeed. And when that's your product, you don't really want to put a subpar version out. So it makes like far more financial sense for them to just move to the Switch 2, right? By the way, this is all just conjecture, but I think we're seeing that with like Xenoblade Chronicles X, the Definitive Edition coming to the Switch, even Donkey Kong 2 or whatever it is that's coming to the Switch later. We're getting a lot more remasters that we're able to play, and that kind of fills that void, but we're not getting new games. And that was my whole point of the thing. Like, when you do finally get a Switch 2, you're probably going to switch over and play all these new games like Mario Kart that we know is basically a console seller, and of course they're going to make that exclusive to the Switch 2. Things like that we're going to want to catch up on. We're going to want to play those games and not really mess with just like the remasters of the old games, or even the games that like we have in our backlog. So my whole purpose with the video is basically saying, hey, there's some really great games that we should check out before that time passes us by. And I really do think, like, again, with the announcement of Xenoblade Chronicles X, the Donkey Kong game, the Wii remaster remake game, I think all of that proves my point, is that we're gonna get just a whole bunch of remasters for the Switch until the Switch 2 comes out, and then moving forward, I think it's gonna be the same thing, just more remasters, maybe a new game sprinkled in here or there, but that's already happening. Like, I'm not claiming to be a prophet here. Again, that's already happening. There's just so many games that we miss out on. Like, if we get lucky enough for a bigger indie title to hit the Switch, then that's awesome. But third party, like legit AA, AAA games, not really. It hasn't happened for a while. And the ones that we do get are usually a subpar product that still costs us a butt ton of money because it took so much more time to develop it and bring it over to the Switch. And so while I'm excited and I'm happy to play Xenoblade Chronicles X, hopefully in the best possible state, it does come at a bleak overview of what is to come for the Switch. In my opinion, like, that's the roadmap that we have, is remasters. And that kind of sucks, honestly. But anyway, that's just my thoughts. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Are any of these games worth your time? Are you excited about Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition? By the way, do you know how many times I had to, like, edit and delete because I kept saying the wrong thing? I'd be like, Xenogears Chronicles, Xeno, like, and I love the series. It's a lot, it's a mouthful, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on these games. Are you excited about the Turok Shadow Man thing? It's probably already out. Also, we're going to be covering Yakuza Kiwami very, very soon, I think, like, within the next day or two. So look forward to that. And anyway, take care, guys. I love each and every one of you. Bye bye.